somebody behind the scenes probably is putting in a lot of hard work
and not getting paid.
And not getting paid much at all. And then because you feel like you're entitled to have your opinion or say, hey, this didn't go right or that didn't go right, I'm going to be pissed and go post online about this contest or whatever. You know, maybe be thankful first that the opportunity is there and that somebody's willing to put that work in to give you that opportunity. Welcome to the Shaw Strength Podcast. I am your host, Brian Shaw, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Mr. Chad Coy. And I have known Chad for 15 plus years now.
It's been a while.
I got to meet him through the sport of Strongman and have definitely learned a lot. He's given me advice. He gave me advice early on in my career before I had turned pro. And I was very shocked by that, actually, because you were there coaching a couple of your guys. And at that contest, you're like, hey, let me give you a little pointer here. Let me help you out. So welcome on, man. I'm glad to have you on. How you doing?
It's awesome. It's an honor to be here. Just the last 15 years, just getting to know you and being in your home and seeing your family and just seeing your life. And it's awesome to be a part of it. And it's awesome just to have been able to give back to the sport.
And you have done that in many, many, many different ways over the years, and we'll talk more about that. But I feel very excited because I get to learn more about you today. So, you know, we've been talking this weekend. You're out in Colorado, and we got to get some training in, which was a lot of fun yesterday. But just in our conversation, I feel like I start to learn more and more about you. So let's talk about even starting with your childhood, like growing up, like what was that like for you?
Well, I was the youngest of 5 boys.
Okay.
So you can imagine it was some tough love. And my mom was pretty tough and my dad was pretty tough. But
what was the age gap between all of you?
Oh, I was the youngest. My next brother was 5 years older. Then it was like 5 and then like 9. So a significant difference. So. But I was the youngest, so I got the most beatings, I believe.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine that. So, you know, I would imagine you were very competitive with your brothers, or was there a big enough age gap there where
5 years, it was usually just I got beat up a lot, but I wasn't real smart. I just kept coming back.
Just wanted more. I
wasn't going to quit.
Yeah.
And that was probably my number one thing. I wouldn't give up. I wouldn't quit.
Yeah.
So I think they enjoyed that because they could just beat me more.
Yeah.
Really more my brother Trent. So
okay. And he's the next closest?
He's the next closest, yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine. That's a pretty big gap in age.
When I got about 15, I got a little saucy and I got more beatings then. I went to the hospital a few times. So
really? To that extent?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Bruised kidneys.
Wow. So you guys weren't messing around.
No, it was a knockdown drag out.
Wow.
Like so, I was not real smart. I would just go ahead and fight. And if I got beat up, I got beat up. I got beat up a lot too.
Yeah, but I mean, from that, so let's move from there. That's resilience, right? And like you said, being stubborn and coming back. And I would imagine that very much toughened you up in a lot of different ways, though.
It really did. I mean, it really did. You know, I was the only person in our family to play. I mean, I played football. My brother was a tennis player, but when I started playing football, that was just I just watched football. And I loved football. I loved the mentality of a football player, and it just became one that's pretty much what I wanted to do. That's what my dream was, and then that was part of it. And then the resilience then became. I had a learning disability. So a lot of people don't realize that because I have to talk for a living. But at one point it was a lot of stuttering. So like when you start reading in first grade, I couldn't talk very well. I couldn't speak. I could read it, but I couldn't speak it. So they said I was learning disability. I had a learning disability, so they put me in special classes. You know how you get treated there.
Yeah.
So I was the special kid.
So was that something that it was more of a speech, you had to go to like a speech therapy kind of thing?
No, it wasn't. I just couldn't talk in public. I mean, I don't know what the hell it was. I just couldn't do it. And then I just went and I read and then you know, I got introduced to the bookmobile in 4th grade, and I just started reading everything I could.
Yeah.
Which then kind of turned into that, you know, the first book I read was Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan of the Apes. So
okay.
Here's Tarzan, he's big and jacked, and he kicks everyone's ass. So I was like, okay, that's what I want to do.
That's cool. So, that's really cool.
And then that was not too far off. That was just, you know, read more books. And then, you know, 1980 came around and you watched Conan the Barbarian. So after I watched that movie, I was like, Mom, that's what I want to do. So my mom took me to a local Nautilus center. So I started training in Nautilus when I was 12. She goes, you have to wait till you're 12, but you can start then. So
12 was the age that had to happen.
Now I played around with my brother's stuff, but like, no, I didn't tell anybody because I know my dad told me I couldn't do it, or my mom would tell me I can't do it. But at 12, they took me to the Nautilus center and I learned how to do it right.
That's really cool. So did you have to do a class or something, like going through learning each exercise? Or?
You basically, it was that old time Nautilus circuit. You just did like 12 movements and you did 1 set to failure, and that was your whole workout.
So it was all machine based.
It was all machine based.
Okay. That's interesting. So with, you know, you're saying first grade, you know, reading and talking and all that, were a lot of kids picking on you at that age, or do you remember that? Or
I just remember them laughing at me because I couldn't read in public. You know,
so
like
would you have to get up in front of the class and try to do that?
They'd try to do that. It's like, I just couldn't do it. And then people would laugh at me and make fun of me. And it's like, you know, then it just became one that, you know, when I went and learned to read, and I just wanted to read more. And then speaking in public, it wasn't as hard after that. And I just became more confident because I could read.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I couldn't read. I just couldn't read in public. And then I got more proficient at it.
It's interesting to me how you gravitated towards Tarzan, you know, and then Conan and the, you know, these big, powerful figures, and almost identified with that at such an early age.
You know what? It just drew me in. And, you know, I read a lot of fantasy. Yeah. I read a lot of science fiction stuff. You know, it's like, you know, just the fantasy stuff was just, you know, Conan the Barbarian was like, he's the self-made man. You know, he kicked everyone's ass and he got the hot chick. So I'm like, that's what I want to do. So
it's not a bad thing to go after.
It's probably the same thing that most young men do. And then you see Arnold, and then you watch. I remember watching Bill Kazmaier on World's Strongest Man, and like laughing, like I'm gonna do that someday. And I said that to my dad. He's like, yeah, whatever.
What age?
I was about 13.
So you got to start doing the lifting at 12. Then at 13 saw, you know, World's Strongest Man.
I saw that, and it's like the joke was like, you might not remember. Do you remember when Coke was in an 8-pack of glass bottles?
I remember the glass bottles growing up for certain, you know, like with Coke or Pepsi. I do remember the glass bottles, but not.
Our house was like a quarter mile away from our convenience store, so I would carry back, you know, 4 of these 8-packs of Coke, and I'm like, it's like World's Strongest Man. I've got to make it. I can't set them down no matter what.
You're doing a carry medley. That's great.
I was carrying that. So that was just, you just saw it on TV, and I was like, that's just so cool.
Yeah,
and. You know, then it's like 13. I kept training the Nautilus Center. It's like when I was 14, it's like I need to lift weights. I need to lift real weights. So we owned a convenience store in Apple Orchard. So I'd saved all my money and I bought my first gym. Like when I was
That's awesome.
You know, and then I just started lifting, and I knew nothing. I was clueless. I mean, the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding was probably the worst book I could have ever read.
Yeah,
but it got me started, and then I just started training, and then I finally went to a commercial gym, and there were guys there that kind of like, you know, do this. You know, so I just started doing, I always squatted and deadlifted and pressed, and, you know, but I kind of ate like a prepubescent girl because I was afraid I was going to get fat. So, you know, I didn't eat enough.
Yeah. You know? I mean, to complement the training for sure.
No, like if I'd have learned, if I could have known then what I know now, how much better of an athlete would I have been?
See, it's interesting, that path though, when you go down it, because it sounds like you kind of dabbled with some of your brother stuff before you were able to go at 12, and then, you know, start doing that. And then, you know, from there at, you know, 12 years old, 13, 14, you know, for a you know, boy at that age, I mean, your body's going through a lot of changes, and, you know, it's something that getting into that when you did at 12, did that really help with confidence? And was it something you started to really have a passion for at that age because of the changes it made for you?
I think it did. I think from the very first time I laid hands on weights, I just loved it. And like I couldn't, like I would tell Mom, I got to go to the gym. She's like, well, I can't. Like, the hell, I don't care. I want to go to the gym. This is important to me. So, we went 3 times a week, and that was something that she and I did together. And she trained, So then, I just started training, and then it was always about football. How does it made me a better football player? So and my mom was pretty tough. She was like, there was if you'll see me, like a lot of people I write DBAC or DBAP on stuff. Like, what the hell is that? It's like, well, that's what my mom would tell me. Like, what's that? I go, my mom would always tell me, don't be a pussy.
Hey, man.
And you can imagine what the C word was. So that was when she was really mad at me. So, so I write that down. It's like, that just becomes something that, you can't, you got to go.
Well, it sounds like it's very much something that was ingrained in you. You're growing up with that, and this is just the expectation, right? And, I know for me, it wasn't exactly that, but my dad was tough on me too, right? And I had to walk that line, and I couldn't quit. And if you're going to do something, you do it the best that you possibly can. And, that's just, it's a very important quality, I think, at a younger age. And, it sounds like, I had an older brother, so I can relate to that. And, you get picked on and you get beat up, and it's just the way it goes, so
you toughen up.
That's it.
Don't, there's no real choice. It's funny because I've gone into my profession as a sports performance coach for youth performance. It's just like, you have to teach kids how to be tough. They're not, I don't think kids are as tough today as they once were, because life is easy.
Yeah.
But when you teach those kids to be mentally tough, that's what's going to really, at the end of the day, athletics will leave, but you're going to have a kid someday. You're going to have a family someday. You have people to take care of. I don't want to get up to work, but I've disciplined myself to get up and do what has to be done in order to take care of the people I care about.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to be teaching kids, and whether it's youth or adults.
Yeah. I think that's very, very important. Very important. And I think I have seen that as well as the generations have changed. And, I have a different perspective now as I'm starting to get a little bit older. And you see within the sport of strongman or other athletes, like you're saying, and you have an even better perspective than I do on that. And it's just something that, I think parents either are a little bit scared of being hard on their kids or don't want to do that or just, but you're not doing them any favors.
We always want to make our kids' lives easier, make it better than we had it. But if you make it too easy, then they're soft. And I see, whether it's in athletics or in everything in our society now, there's just a lot more people who are soft. And if you look, like when you started Strongman or when I started Strongman, and the guys now coming up, it's not like they're doing this. Like, I don't know if soft is the right word. They're just like not. Their mental fortitude isn't there because they don't like, I got to go train.
Yep.
Like, well, I can skip today. No, you fucking can't skip today. You got to get your ass to the gym.
Yep.
And you know what? You're going to punch the clock 70% of the time. And then you're going to have a shit workout. And then you're going to have 2 really good ones. Yep. But where's champions are made is when you don't want to go to the gym, when you make yourself go and you just get it done. And I think that's what a lot of people are lacking now because they're so distracted with social media or all the other distractions of life that they can't focus on what they want.
Yeah. Well, jumping in, for me, jumping into strongman, I didn't have any equipment for my first, literally zero. Right. And I just said, hey, I'm signing up for this. I'm going to go figure it out. And there was no novice class. There was, you went right in, it was open and you just went and did it. And then, I don't think that necessarily doing the novice class has been a bad thing for the sport because I think it opens the door for more people. But with that being said, I think a lot of the newer competitors now, they'll look at a contest and they'll look at the events and say, well, I'm not good at that, or I'm not good at this. I'm not going to do it. I'm scared. I'm scared to put myself out there. But the way that I took it, and I'm sure the way that you took it, was I'm not good at that. I need to get better. I'm signing up and I'm putting my back against the wall. And you have this amount of time then from when you sign up to when you do the contest to get better.
Well, the crazy thing back when we started, people didn't have equipment. we built all of our own crap, and it just became, then you went to shows to, they've got that. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go do that show because they've got this piece of equipment I've never seen.
Yes.
Or back then, We traveled a lot. Guys would come to my place. We go to someone else's place. I mean, you'd learn. I mean, I've taken trips overseas to go train with the best guys there were so I could learn. I mean, I had one of my favorite trips I've ever taken was to Finland in 2000 and to train with Ahola and Sven. And then I ended up spending like literally a whole night with Sven just training. Like after I've done a contest. He's like, dude, you did the contest. He's like, yeah, but I want to learn. I don't care. Aren't you sore? I'm like, yeah, I took some ibuprofen. I'm solid.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Like, and I learned so much and just developed that friendship with him. That's, 22 years ago. Crazy.
It is crazy. And I very much respect that because I did the same thing. I mean, when I started, I didn't have anybody around me to necessarily teach me, hey, this is the right way to do this, wrong way. I would just try to watch whatever videos I could find, take that information, break it down, see if I could use it for me. And it was a trial and error. And then, once I started actually going to contests and, I met you and Van Hatfield and a few of these guys, Carl Gillingham, Dave Austin, like those guys that were around, kind of at the beginning. And I was like, hey, can I come train or can I learn or can I talk to you about this? Can I, whatever information I can take. Right. I wanted to be a sponge to take as much of that information from guys that had been there before me so I could get better.
Yeah, you were a student of the game. You went and tried to learn. And I think that's the thing. Back then, you didn't have everything at your fingertips like now. Like you can Google shit now. It's all right there. You can find somebody. And there wasn't coaching. There wasn't equipment. There was no equipment manufacturers. I mean, Brian Neese was the first guy to make equipment with massive strength, and it was distributed through Powerlift. And that was back in 2000, 2001. So you build everything. Yep. I mean, I laugh because if you remember the Power Team or like a Christian group,
yes,
they came to Kokomo back in 98, and they had used a log, and they're like, it's a 300-pound wood log. And I'm like, dude, when they were done with it, because it was at my church, that log wasn't going anywhere but to my gym.
Yeah.
It wasn't 300 pounds. It was 180 pounds. But that's where we started. We did it. And then, then we found fab guys and just started fabbing stuff.
That's the way that you had to do it. And I think there's something to be said for that with getting into the sport and not having it easy. Right. So it wasn't right at your fingertips. So you didn't get the information. You had to seek the information, and you didn't have equipment. You had to find somebody that could build it for you. Or, I know for me at the start, and I've talked about this before, I didn't have any money. Yeah. You're nothing is handed. So I'm finding a guy that can get some scrap metal and make something for me that's not the best, but you make it work. Right. So I didn't have top of the line, brand new, shiny everything. It was very not glamorous at all. Right. You're just training, but you love it. Right. And I can see the vision of where I'm trying to go. And I remember there's a lot of training sessions I did by myself. And, it was just my parents' garage by myself. And, a lot of times I'd have to scoop the driveway and throw down some salt so I could do carries out there by myself. And it's freezing cold. And I'm out there by myself. And it's like, I'm loving it, man, because I'm working to get better. And, as many people, I guarantee there's people that drove up and down that road and thought I was a lunatic, but, and that's debatable. But you know what? I saw where I wanted to go, and I was willing to put in the work to get there, and whatever, obstacle I had to overcome or whatever challenge was in front of me, I wanted to figure out how to get through it and get past it and open the next door. And whether that was knowledge, whether that was equipment, whatever. But if you're willing to sacrifice to that level to get there, you can make a lot of things happen. Right. And it sometimes I think maybe there's a downfall to having it so easy, right? Where it's right at your fingertips and you can easily get to a gym that's got implements.
You don't have to strive and struggle. And I think it takes a little bit away of the learning curve because you get it so easily given to you right now. And I think people then they take it for granted. Hey, I got done in 2 years what it took you 10 years to do.
Yeah.
They just think it's so much easier. Like, again, like when you came up, that was like 2000. I think I met you in 2006 in Tulsa.
Yep.
Yeah. You were the tall. I was laughing. I don't know if I think I've even told you this once because I was talking to the guys and I talked to you and you're like, you train, you're at ASU, you're with Ken, you're with Leanne Blinn. I'm like, you know what? I laughed and I said, because you were asking, and I love helping people. I'm a coach. That's what I do. It's my living. Yeah. It's my profession. That's what I do every day. So like helping was like, yeah, man, this guy's, I told him, I go, mark my words, he will turn pro within a year and he'll win worlds within 5 years. And I think I was wrong because I think he did in 4.
Yeah. 2000, I should have done it in 4. I tied in 4.
Yeah. So I mean, I think at that time, I remember just sending you text messages like, dude, you got this, crush this shit. And I just laugh about it when I think about it now. It's like, but that show, you were right there.
Yeah.
Right there with not having any equipment. Yep. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah. And that's, again, you're traveling across, at that point, that was Oklahoma. So, I drove to Oklahoma from Colorado to, get this opportunity. But again, that was the commitment, so that was my second, at that time, that was my second Pro-Am that I had done. And then I got my pro card a month later in Utah, right? So it's the third one that I did. And so, but again, I had only done, it's just insane to think back to that where I hadn't really trained with any of the stuff. And, I just had very primitive equipment. I think at that point in time, I had bought a log, and I maybe had started training the log a little bit. Yeah. But you're not really, some of these things I'm doing for the first time at the show. And it's like, hey, I've got a base. I'm trying to do the best I can to maybe replicate it in training. But you're showing up, you're going after it. And I remember back then, too, if you were going to get into one of those contests, it was a mail-in entry. Right? And, and if that form got posted, I remember specifically that one I actually was on the wait list for Oklahoma. I didn't get in, and it was because I didn't get my entry. So you had to basically try to overnight your entry form so that it was there, so you actually got a spot because it was cut off at 20 or 25. Right. But everybody was so competitive getting in. You didn't even know what the events were, and it was like, I'm signing up. Next one, I'm signing up, and it was so competitive. And now you see these contests that'll go on. And you'll have competitors sign up. Well, I'm gonna wait. There was no luxury of waiting back then because if you waited, you were on the outside looking in versus being able to do it.
I think the only benefit now that a lot of promoters are doing is like when you enter is when you go in the order of events. So if you're the first one, you're the last guy to go. Like I always want to be the last guy to go.
Yes. Yep. That would be a benefit. That's a good way.
That's the only benefit. But there's so many people now like, I qualified for nationals in August of 2021, and nationals are in June of 2022. I'm going to train for 9 months for the same. It's like, and then you wonder why you're burnt out and beat up.
Sure,
because you're overusing the same movement patterns for so long.
Big time. That's crazy, man. So for you with football, how far did you go with football?
You know what? My dream was to play college ball. So in high school, and remember, no one in my family went to college. I was the first person to go to college. Or the first person to graduate. My brother had gone to college, but he's 5 years older, so he was on that 9-year plan. I didn't want to do the 9-year plan. So,
no, that's a long plan.
No, he's incredibly intelligent. He's got multiple degrees, and he stayed in, and he's done a phenomenal job. So I'm very proud of how far he is. He's probably the most intelligent person I've ever met. I on the other hand was not real super smart. I'm more of a plodder. Like I got to grind to make it work, but I know what I know, and I like what I'm good at. I'll be really good at.
Yeah.
So I played ball, and I started as a sophomore. My goal was to play college ball. I had a bunch of offers to play small college ball, but in that infinite wisdom at 18, I'm like, I'm not going to a small school. I'm going to walk on at Purdue.
Okay.
And I've got 5 years to play for, and I'm going to take as much time as I need to get big. Then I'm going to walk on. Well, I didn't realize that when you walk on, your clock starts ticking. No one told me that.
Totally.
So I didn't know that until I met with Chester Caddis, who was the recruiting coordinator at the time. He's like, my couple of my roommates and I, we all walked on at the same time. They were a little bit younger. So when I walked on, I was like, you're never going to play. I mean, you've got 2 years, you got 2 semesters of eligibility. Unless you're Lawrence Taylor, you're never playing. I'm like, okay, I'm not Lawrence Taylor. Huh. But I tested out. I did a good job. And what happened, that door shut, and then the door that opened was, but we do need assistant strength coaches. So I went down and I started working for Steve Little, who was the head strength coach then. And I got to see, my goal was to see it from the player side and then become a strength coach. At that same time, that same year, like there was a semi-pro football team in Lafayette. So I wanted to play football. Yeah. So I just went out and I played the next 8 years of semi-pro football. And in the meantime, like in the off season, I'd power lift, and then I do football, and then we started the strongman stuff. It's like we want to do strongman. There was no strongman contest back then, because it's like, if you remember Iron Mind and Randy Strawson, it's like,
yep.
I had Iron Mind, and Hard Gainer was another magazine I read a lot about. That's Stuart McRobert, another like more of a abbreviated training advocate, which is more how I'd like to train at the time. So then, Randy, where's a contest? There really wasn't one. It's like, well, we'll just throw one. That's how the Central USA became a contest, but it was like, we didn't know shit. So we did a bench press and a deadlift and a farmer's walk the first year. And then in 95, then we got we added another event. We did a bag carry. So we jokingly made a sandbag, and her name was Sandy. And it was like, at the end of every workout, you're doing finishers with either farmer's walks or Sandy. You're carrying shit.
Okay.
So it just became, you're looking at that stuff, and then you're watching Strongman, but there was no shows.
Yeah.
You could see World's Strongest Man on TV, but there were really no contests in the United States, other than there was a place in Pennsylvania named Sugarloaf that had a show. And then we started our show, and then there were then more shows in like 98. Then the Chris Mavromatis put on The Strongest Man Alive. But we had done the Central, and at the time I was working in the nutrition industry, so I was head of R&D for HDT, Human Development Technologies. So the company was kind enough to sponsor our event. So we had a $5,000 supplement package for the winner.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, that's 90. That
was 96 the first year we did it.
Wow. Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
I just remember guys like, there's a famous gym in Indiana called The Pit. It's one of the oldest gyms in the country, or in the state, and in the country probably. Dick Condor runs it. This guy calls me up. He's like, I don't want no money. I want the money. I don't want no supplements. So I'm like, cool, dude. I'll give you $1,000 for your $5,000 of supplements. You're on. He comes up, he gets his ass kicked.
Yeah.
He doesn't win. The guy who wins was my training partner.
Okay.
We talked yesterday, Doug R. And Doug we played ball together. He worked for me. He's 6'8", 400 pounds.
Yeah.
He's just a huge human being and athletic, so he won. And what's funny is how we got started. Like, that was 96, then 97. We threw Indiana's Strongest Man. We just threw a couple contests a year, and it was always based before football season, because we always started football in like June.
So you would do the strongman, and then you would start your semi-pro.
Then you start your season and you play football season. Or then I also did powerlifting. At the time I did drug-free powerlifting, so I competed wherever I could. And in the state of Indiana, like NASA was big, so that's the Natural Athlete Strength Association. ADFPA, which is now the USAPL, was big back then. USPF, APF, but it's like you had to find a meet, and then it's like I played football, so I have to get in shape, and then I can only really compete in like April, May before I'm going back in the season.
Totally.
So it's like, it was very short.
That's a lot of things to balance from your athletic standpoint.
Right. So, but like powerlifting, you just lifted, and then you just ran and hit people. Yeah. So it was cool. I was become a very good football player.
Yeah.
So in 95, which was like I'd have to say my pinnacle season, the American Football Association, which is an amateur football association in the United States, I was the defensive player of the year. We had a bowl game in Vegas that we had a tryout. There was an NFL combine tryout. So basically you do your tryouts and like, well, okay, so Brian, how old are you? Well, at the time, how old are you, Mr. Coy? I'm like 27. It's like, next. There was my tryout was done.
Just because of your age?
Just because your age.
That's crazy.
And they looked at Doug and they loved Doug, and it's like, but he's 28, so you're done. So that's just that short window there. And I played football and I loved it and I enjoyed football. But then like the strength sports, like I just wanted to, like, we saw it, and there was never a big show, but you saw in 97 when they had America's Strongest Man at Prim. So then the next year, Manfred Hobel and Magnus Magnuson put on the AFSA, the American Strength Federation. I don't care what ASFA, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Back then, but then it was with Lonnie and a couple other guys, and they had it out at the track in Vegas. So you went out like, man, there's like you're there. And there's Harold Collins, Chief Iron Bear. He was on Worlds, and oh man, there's Gary Mitchell. There's Terry Brennan. Like, oh my God. So we got there, and I was like, I went with Doug. Okay. I didn't go from. I mean, I was like, we're doing it. He's doing it. I'm just supporting him. He's my training partner, so we're going to go. I had no idea what I could do, and I ended up.
Interesting.
We ended up making the finals.
Wow.
So
you're stepping into this contest, and you said it's 98.
That was 98. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, at that time, so Magnus had already won Worlds 4 times.
Yeah.
And then Manfred was obviously
he was top. He was tops, but they were kind of phasing. Manfred was definitely out. I mean, Magnus he still competed.
Yeah.
But he didn't compete as much. He wasn't really chasing it. And then we went out there, and it's like I ended up making the finals, and I guess turning pro. Because then I was considered a pro strongman. What the hell that even fucking means?
Yeah.
We had AFSA pro cards, and there was the NSA, and then there was IFSA. So you've had all those but then for me, it was like I looked for every show I could, and I just went and did it.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I didn't care what it was.
I mean, at that point, I would imagine it's just gaining experience. But I mean, what's incredible to me is you're reaching out and saying, hey, I want to do this strongman stuff, and I want to put on a contest. There are no contests.
Well, I wanted to do a contest. I didn't want to put one on. There wasn't one, so I had to put
you
one
had to put it on and compete just to open the door to try.
And that's what a lot of these young guys don't realize. Like, we used to, if you put on a show, you loaded it on the truck, you took it to the venue, you unloaded it, you did the contest, you reloaded it and put it back in the gym.
Man.
It's like when they go to contest, like whenever I go to a contest, I thank every spotter loader. I thank for the promoter. I thank everything for doing it because I know how hard it is. And there are kids out there, there's people out there that don't do that. They take it for granted, or they get pissed off at the promoter because they didn't do X, Y, and Z. It's like, dude, until you step into that, you have no idea. And now, you've done now 2 Shaw Classics, and you see what it is. And like you go the extra mile for everyone, for the athletes, for the help, for the fans that come. It's like that's what strongman to me is about. And then when I watch you do this, like it makes me smile, because it's like, what, I was part of that trip for you to get you there.
Absolutely.
And it makes me like proud as a coach, because I can look at my accomplishments in strongman are in comparison are nominal, but then the impact that I've been able to make with so many different people, that's what really matters. And those relationships, that's what matters. I could give a shit about winning. I mean, okay, I'll take that back. I really want to win.
Of course you do.
I mean, I hate losing. I hate losing. But I've learned a hell of a lot more from losing than I've ever learned from winning.
And that's the way it is. But you're exactly right as far as stepping into the promoter role and handling all of that stuff. There's so much stuff that comes with that. And I wish, just like what you said, that a lot of the newer athletes that don't maybe think about that, take a step back and realize, hey, all this weight or, whatever it might be in front of them, all that, somebody had to put it there. Somebody had to load it. Somebody had to move it. Yeah. Somebody had to set it up. And that's not easy to do. So the opportunity, somebody behind the scenes probably is putting in a lot of hard work.
And not getting paid.
And not getting paid much at all. And then because you feel like you're entitled to have your opinion or say, hey, this didn't go right or that didn't go right, I'm going to be pissed and go post online about this contest or whatever. Maybe be thankful first that the opportunity is there and that somebody's willing to put that work in to give you that opportunity.
That would be my wish, that everyone was just grateful for the promoter that took their time, took their money, and sunk it into the sport.
Big time.
Because, when I look at, like, we did that was 94. So you were at the 2014 Central USA.
Yeah.
Because we coupled it with the Masters America's Strongest Man. And it's like, you saw that whole event. I mean, that was 20 years worth of growing that event.
That's amazing.
I mean, you saw my training hall back then. All that equipment was built over 20 years. So we didn't throw anything away. We never got rid of it. Well, we got rid of some stuff because I'd sell some stuff off.
Yeah.
Like, I think I sent you a
car deadlift frame,
deadlift squat frame. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember loading that up on the truck because you sent the guy out. That was one of those things.
Yeah.
I remember. I think we were walking. I said, "Hey, man, I recognize that."
Yes.
It's a Williams strength, old Williams strength.
We used it to warm up for the car squat this year.
Yeah. I remember seeing it.
Yeah. But that's exactly it. It's giving back. And one of the things that I said early on, and it's picking up from guys like you, is I got into the sport, and the sport has given me a lot, right? And I've put a lot into it, but also my goal is to try to leave it in a better place than when I got in. And so that's very much what I'm trying to do.
Definitely done that, my friend.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're just scratching the surface.
It's exciting,
but it's having that mentality, right? Yeah. Rather than coming in and, the sport owes me something, or I'm going to come in and take, and then walk away. It's like, hey, you know what? It's given me opportunities. It's given me friendships. It's given me, the ability to travel the world and experience different cultures. And I mean, just so many different things over the last, 15, 20 years for me. Yeah. And it's amazing. Right. And, I want that to continue. I want that to be there for, the next generation of athletes. And, that's kind of my mentality with it, is to try to give back and provide and put into the sport too. And that's, you're the guy that started that, right? You're paving the way here in the US for sure with doing that, which is amazing to me.
There's a lot of people there. I was there in the beginning, like Willie and Dion, and there's other great people that have really really pushed the sport forward. I've just kind of been there the whole time. Yeah. I mean, I think Clint Darden made some post about me, how I swam the implements across the Atlantic or some shit like that, because I've been here for so long. I think you made some comment like I was here before Strongman started. But it is. I mean, you just want to see the sport continue to grow. I mean, you made a comment about the novice class. I'm the jackass who created it. So like, we need to put a novice class so we can get some more people to try this stuff. Yeah. Because back then it's like you went to a show and you went to that show and there was pros, there was no distinction. And that distinction didn't really happen until like 2002, where they were then created the pro card system, which I think at the time, I think it's still a good system. It has failed over the last 20 years. When it first happened, it was like, hey, you got your pro card, you went to these 4 shows, you qualified for America's Strongest Man. If you went to America's Strongest Man, the top 5 guys got to go to World's Strongest Man. Yeah. So it was a great system. Now that system kind of fell apart 2004, then when the IFSA and World's Strongest Man split. So that just, no one remembers that stuff though. They don't remember where, I think it's important. I think culturally in this country, we forget our history. Yep. Whether it's the United States, what makes this country so great, or what has made this sport so great, we've forgotten our history, and paving that road was not easy. No, and there's a lot of people put a lot of work in that to get the sport to where it is today. So again, I think back, be thankful. I mean, I always, one of my favorite books is The Gunslinger by Stephen King. It's like, remember the face of your father, and that's remember how you got here. Remember the people that paved the way. Yep. So like, when you called and said, hey, will you come judge this show for me? I'm like, dude, I would love to. And I was so taken aback, because you've got so many people in your life, so many better people than me as athletes, that you asked to come here to judge that show. It's like, I was so honored. It's like, like, that's why I say, when I'll come, I'm here for you. You tell me what you need to get done. Well, we'll get her done.
But it's also, for me, you're touching on all of that stuff, but I haven't forgotten either. For me,
no, you haven't.
Where everything came from, the guys that came before me. For example, I can name every winner of World's Strongest Man all the way through, every single year, right? And I know all of them, and I would know, and I haven't had the pleasure of meeting all of them yet. But if I did, I would know who they were. I would give them respect. I'd walk over and shake their hand and know exactly their story to talk to them about. Whereas a lot of guys that have gotten into the sport, and I've done this with guys that have come to my training group, I'll literally say, hey, who won World's Strongest Man this year? Or can you name 5 or 10 winners, or things like this? And it's like, if you can't do that, why? Why can you not do that? And it's again, I think the younger generation is just like, hey, I'm forgetting about all of these men that came before me, or women, or whoever, that have paved the way and kind of laid that framework for where we are now. And it hasn't been easy, and it hasn't been, all sunshine and roses and whatever. A lot of people had to put a lot of hard work into to get to the sport where it is now. And I mean, it's grown tremendously, which is exciting, right? It's very exciting. And, there's a lot of people that have been impacted, I feel like, in a very positive way, because even, and you could speak to this too, but even the most normal person, right, they can go use Strongman as a training method.
I mean, we train athletes, and we train. I mean, Parisi is a sports performance company for youth, but we can only train kids from 4 to 8. So we train a spectrum of people. I mean, I literally have our Silver Strong ladies who are 60 and older, and our Silver Strong guys. They do farmers walks. They do bag carries. I mean, they deadlift. They train on an axle. So like, hey, that's what you do. Like, yeah, I mean, everyone, you can do it. Now, they have to earn the right to get there, but you know what? A loaded carry is one of the functional movement patterns the human body performs on a daily basis. So why not become proficient at it? So we look at that, and I see how much Strongman has now kind of infused itself in strength and conditioning. So you see all the stuff that now strength and conditioning coaches, where 20 years ago it was taboo, don't do that. Yep. Now it's like, it's pretty much a mainstay that everyone's using it, because it's a great way to train the body from many angles to make you impervious to injury. Yep. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to build these resilient bodies of these athletes so they can handle the beatings that they're going to take in whatever sport they're doing. So for me, injury prevention becomes one of the most important things when we train our athletes. Whether it's a youth athlete or an older athlete, how do we prevent those injuries? And then we look at corrective exercises. How do we build those in? And you can use I use Strongman all the time with all my athletes. Like, why? Because it works. Yeah. And it works.
And functionally, you get stronger overall. Like you said, it's a functional movement pattern for athletes and for everyday people. I mean, if you have to bend over and pick up a bag of groceries.
Hey, your husband forgot to take the salt down, and grandma grabs that 40-pound bag of salt and carries it down the basement and puts it in the water softener.
Which is awesome.
That's big stuff.
Huge.
And then they don't think they can, but I got one of my ladies who couldn't, I can't play with my grandkids because I can't get up and off the ground. I said, well, let's work on that. Now she gets up and down off the ground, chases her grandkids around, and she's doing farmer's walks and sled pushes, and she thinks this is fun. I mean, or like one of my clients, Jane Smith, she's like, she wants to back squat. She's 80 years old, and she wants to back squat. So she just recently back squatted her age.
That's amazing.
Which is really cool, and just to watch that self-confidence and self-esteem build. Now, coming back to our sport, those novice kids, they do a novice class, they get that one under their belt, then they go to another show, then they build it up, and it just over time. Like, we didn't have that luxury. You went right in and you just got pounded.
Yep.
And it was like there was no weight class. So, I did my first America's Strongest Man. I was 242 pounds. I was definitely the smallest dude to show. And for most of my career, I've always been the smallest guy in the show.
Yeah, you floated around that mid 200s, right? Maybe what, 250, 60, 70?
I got up to 278 once, and I was like I looked very offensive lineman-ish, which was quite offensive if you're a linebacker. I remember seeing one like, oh my God, dude, I'm thick as thick. This was thick, but not with the two C's. It was a C and a K. It was very chunky.
So with your career from 98, then you went and competed in that contest. Mm-hmm. Where did it go, like, for you? Like, how did the evolution go for you personally within the sport competing?
Well, the goal was always the goal for me was to make World's Strongest Man. I set that goal. It's like, I want to do it. I would say I'm more genetically average than the average strongman. I'm 6 feet tall. I'm 245, 250 pounds at the time. I want to make World's Strongest Man. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make World's Strongest Man. I mean, I came from drug-free powerlifting. I had a goal of doing it the way I wanted to do it without the use of drugs. Not that I give a shit if anyone does. That's their bag. That's up to them. I had made a choice, and then I just did every damn show I could. And I was really blessed because I had some really kick-ass training partners. And, I met Brian Neese, and Brian came up, and he had won America's Strongest Man, and then, Brian Schoenfeld. I actually saw him in the gym. I worked in a nutrition company at the time, so I came into Gold's gym, and I saw him. It's like, Bobby Brooks, the guy who was the manager, goes, man, you got to check this Schoenfeld guy. He's a fucking nut. So he's over there behind neck pressing like 275 for like sets of 5. I'm like, hey, dude, you should come down and do Strongman. Yeah. So he came down to our show. And it's like, and I made a comment like, he did really well. And I was like, there's nationals, you should probably do it. I mean, I did it last year, and I said, you know what? There's going to be a lot of big names there. I said, if you go, you'll probably get your ass kicked, but you'll learn a lot, and you'll get better.
Yeah.
It pissed Scooney off.
He came saying that he was going to get his
ass. Well, he was like, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
And he came, and he trained. We went out there, and he got second place. And then that just lit a fire into his ass, and the next year he won America's Strongest Man and went to Worlds in 2000. That was like his, fourth show was Worlds.
That's crazy. And he hadn't, at that point, hadn't really trained with a lot.
No, hell, we didn't have implements. The implements we had, we had farmer's walks. I mean, we had tires.
Yeah.
We had sleds. But he came down and trained, and then he's a welder, so he started making shit. And then that's
a good ability to have. Jerry Pritchett's a welder. He's making cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Scooney just started making stuff, and then we made stuff, and then there were more shows and more people got involved, and a lot of that equipment got used by other people. Like wasn't anything for someone to drive to our place on a Saturday and we'd have 30 people out in the back. We used to joke because we did it in the back alley of the gym.
Yeah.
In that first gym, because we were out there like in that plaza, and we'd go out in the back so people would be driving by like, what the fuck is wrong with these dudes? Or my house, like you were talking about your house. Like I stored my stones in my house. Yeah. So I took the stones out in the middle of, like when I was training to go to Finland, like I had to do stones. So I took off all the snow, salted it down, brought out the rubber mats, put them down, brought the boxes out, did the stones. And like then at one point, like I'm laughing because like, well, I had to replace my walkway because it was destroyed.
You crushed it.
Yeah, I crushed it. But then you looked at our front yard, like when it was nice out, we just did the yard in the yard. So my yard looked like a meteor shower hit it. So my wife's like, finally she's like, get this shit the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So we moved it to the training. We moved it to a training hall. So we've always had a training hall, but like, I think that's the other thing. It's soft people because like we had no heat, we had no air conditioning. I mean, we had a giant fan, which was kind of cool.
The fan in an air conditioned training room is a luxury.
It's a luxury,
big time.
But I laugh because like, and you've seen the training hall in Kokomo. Yeah. I'm much more sophisticated now in the business than I have. So, but back then it's like it was a dungeon, man.
Yeah, you just walk in there.
You just walk in and get your shit done. And like we would train in the mornings because I would get up early in the morning so it wouldn't affect the kids. So I'd be there for the kids. So I'd train it. We train. I get up at 4 and we train at 5.
Wow.
I'm back home by 7:30 getting monkeys out of bed to get them ready for school.
Sure.
But then you look at that training hall. We didn't have lights. We had floodlights. We just went. I went to spend my. I'm not spending any money on this shit.
Yeah.
We got equipment. Oh, you won't spend money on lights, but you'll buy another light. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
We need more equipment. So that training hall was a lot of fun. I had a lot of good training partners then. A lot of cool guys came through. Derek Devon came through our place. Sean Smith, who was another pro. Brittany Cornelius, who ended up winning America's Strongest Woman at one time, and she's still in this sport. It's crazy. She's just a kid.
Yeah. When
I trained her the first time, she did a powerlifting meet. She broke all the American records.
That's crazy.
Is that good? I mean, she squatted like 420 in her first meet ever.
That's amazing.
And at 16.
Wow.
And then she just came back a couple years later and started doing Strongman, and then bam, she's just really, and she still trains to this day. So it's like I'm really proud of that, and like just. One of our other, Jessica Rush, which is you met Nick. Nick picked you up at the airport.
Yep.
She's gone. I got her started. She's gone with a couple of coaches. She's won World's Strongest Woman. She's still in it. Nick's still in it. So I look back and look at that trail of people, and there's so many different people.
You've touched so many different people through the path, through the journey that you were on, whether it's, your place or just going to a contest or meeting somebody, talking to them, that's when I think for you, it's cool to hear all that because you can look back and say, wow, this was a lot of impact with different people. And, people that are still in the sport, you're very much still involved in the sport, and competing yourself. So you started going to America's Strongest Man and you've done 10, is that right? 10 America's Strongest Man?
My last open America's Strongest Man was with you in 2013.
13, yeah.
I had done it. You chase after that, but like in 2012, we had a Masters America's Strongest Man, and I got second to Brad Dunn, but Brad couldn't go to Worlds, which Glenn Ross had thrown it at the time. And at the time, it was still called Masters World Strongest Man. Now it's Ultimate Strongman Masters World Championship.
Whatever, yeah.
OSG has taken back the title, whatever. So I went, and I was the smallest guy in the show. No one expected shit from me, and I ended up getting second.
Yeah.
And then I came back the next year. It's like, okay, I didn't have to do America's Strongest Man. Masters America's Strongest Man, but I'm like, we're putting it on, and I'm going to do it. It's in front of my hometown.
Yep.
And I'm going to do it, and I'm going to win it. And then I came back, and I went to Worlds, and Mike Saunders ended up winning. He beat me by 2 points. I mean, it was a knockdown drag out. We went to the last event. He beat me by like a second on the power stairs. He beat me by 1/10 of a second on the stones. And I really, really love Mike. He's a great guy. I competed with him in the North Americans and stuff. But like, you look there and like, okay, I did that show. I'm like, okay, I'm committed. It's in Vegas. I'm going to America's Strongest Man. And that was the last one I did. I was like, I'm 44 years old. Like, I'm pretty okay. And I don't have that robust body. I mean, like Nick Best, we're the same age, but he's a lot bigger than I am.
Yeah.
So you're coming in at 255 pounds. Yeah. I'm giving away a lot of ass. And I knew I wasn't going to, I'm going to go fight. I'm going to go give you everything I got.
Oh, of course you
But
are.
I know what I'm fighting against now.
Yeah.
And Father Time is undefeated.
This is the fact. Yeah.
So then I came back and I trained my ass off that next year. Won America's Strongest Man, Master America's Strongest Man again. Van had came out and did it. It's like, he was going through some times. And it's like we just got to kind of rekindle our friendship. And Higa was there, and there was a lot of great guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of good amateurs came and tried it. And then I went back, and that's kind of where my story went sideways.
Yeah.
When I came back from Worlds, so 2014. So, but I've made it back a couple more times, and I still enjoy it. My biggest thing is the process.
Yeah.
Like I love training. Like if I never compete again, it wouldn't break my heart. But I love training. I love the idea of having something to train for.
Yep.
So I've got 3 shows in my crosshairs right now to train for. With the one like last year was OSG was going to have a 50+ class for Masters of America or Masters World's Strongest Man, and I got COVID and it knocked me out.
Yeah.
So I was going back with the idea I'm going to win that.
Yeah.
So just publicly speaking now, I'm going to win it this year.
Making a statement.
I'm making a statement right now. I'm coming. I'm bringing fucking everything to bear.
There you go.
There's nothing. I mean, I don't give a shit what I've got to do. I'm going to do it.
See, and that would be cool because you're coming off 2 second places basically with, Masters Worlds there. So that's, I know that those 2 second places eat at you a little bit.
If you were to come to my house and you see what sits on it reminds you every day. I've got 2 second place trophies. There's a place for a first place trophy.
There is a place, yes.
I laughingly say, I'm going to continue to sport until I fucking win one. Yeah. And if I have to wait till I'm 70 to do it, I don't give a shit because there's no one that will outlast me.
Yeah. Well, and that's the mentality too. And speaking about that, I think it's impressive, the longevity, right? But that process, and you said you enjoy the training, you enjoy the process of training. And I think that something that is very important to remember is that it is a process, right? And I think that, a lot of the younger competitors out there think it's very much a here and now thing. And I don't know why that mentality has necessarily changed a lot, because for me, maybe this is just the way that I was brought up. And it's like, hey, you got to work hard and you got to, put your time in and you got to get better and then keep coming back and that type of mentality. But now it's like, well, I have to win it next year. Right. It's all, somebody that hasn't been doing the sport for very long is like, well, I need to, let's just say, be world's strongest man. I've got to win it in 1 year. I've got to win it. Instead of thinking, well, hey, if I get better for the next, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, decade. Yeah. Then where are you going to be? But you've built up and built up and built up. And I think it's impressive, talking to guys like Nick Best and Ed Cohen, it's like, man, the process, right? It's loving the process of training and putting all of that hard work on display when you go to compete, but enjoying the process of getting better, right? It's kind of, and I'm very much the same way. I mean, I think back to different, contests and yeah, great memories from contests, right? But going through the training is where you really learn about yourself. You learn about hard work. You learn about the dedication. You learn about overcoming obstacles and challenges and walking in there, like you said earlier with us talking here, hey, you're going to be a champion, but some days it's going to be tough, right? And maybe you have a bad day or something got messed up, something didn't go right. Can you still, on those type of days, can you still go get it done? Right? Because it may not be the best day, but you're taking that step forward and you're always taking that step forward. And that's, I'll tell people, for me, gosh, since I started training in high school, I haven't missed maybe more than one. And this is talking on the road, everything, maybe more than one training like in a row where it was planned. And it was just something that I was completely out of my control, went wrong, catastrophic, right? Where I could not find a way. And this is, I'm on the road. If I needed to pull over and lift some rocks or something, that was a training that I would get done. So it's finding a way, but I think a lot of times saying that type of stuff to somebody is like, hey, I started, training when I was 12 or 13, and got more serious in high school from that point. But then once I was committed to it, it was not missing anything. And now you're talking about, I mean, you're literally talking about going on what, almost, 27, 28, 29, 30 years of that, right? The consistency over that amount of time. And you're a testament to that as well for yourself.
I laugh because people ask like, I don't miss workouts. Like, what do you mean you don't miss? I mean, I think I always jokingly say, like, some kids will always go, what's the secret? And I jokingly, I just remember this when I had gotten divorced and I couldn't train at my gym anymore. I had to train locally at another gym in Kokomo at the Y, which is where I kind of got my start in the first commercial gym. This kid's like, what's the secret? What do you take? I go, dude, it's called Consistaballing. He goes, Consistaballing? I've never heard of it. I said, yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah.
He goes, what the? So like, then I just I was just being a smart ass. So like, the next day he comes back and goes, dude, I looked up, there's no such drug named Consistaball. And I said, no, it's called consistency, dude. You know what you need to do? You need to consistently come to the gym and not miss workouts. And I tell people that, it's like, I've missed 20 workouts since 1980.
Yeah.
20. Think about that. 20. 4 of those were actually probably now 20. Like that's 24 because about 8 of those were after I had COVID.
Yeah.
I couldn't train for 2 weeks, so I missed those 8 sessions. See,
that's mind blowing, and I'm sure to the younger generation, I mean, it's that consistency is amazing.
Well, it's like consistently. Did you consistently eat your meals? Did you consistently sleep? Did you consistently drink? Did you consistently do the recovery that you need to do to be successful? I'm sorry, guys. Here, Strongman World, it's not in the pharmacy.
Yeah.
That might help, but it's not in the pharmacy. It's about being consistent, about training properly, about doing the work. And I just remember Louis Simmons once said, like, I just remember talking to Louis. He's like, you were at this gym. He's like, over in the corner, there's like a bench shirt, there's a squat suit, and a bottle of test. He goes, what? You can do your bench shirt, you can do your squat suit, you can take your test, but it's all about training.
Yeah,
I think that's how he sounds.
Something like that.
That's how he sounded in my head. But like, guys, it's about training.
Yes.
And the thing is train, and then why are you training? Yep. You know what? I want to be 80 years old, still pissing people off at the gym because I'm still there.
Yep.
Okay. It's the longevity. It's strength and health.
Yeah.
And I think that's those flash in the pan. I need it now. Why do you need it now? Because we live in this microwave society. I can get microwave. I can get it right now.
Yeah. Everything is here and now. Yeah.
Instead of paying the price, which like you came up now. I think a lot of people don't realize there's a huge difference between an athlete and a D1 athlete.
Yeah.
You were a Division I athlete. Okay. You look at those guys that were Division I athletes that played sports at a high level. They have a different genetic makeup. Okay. Higher preponderance of fast twitch muscle fiber. Maybe they're mentally more tough. Maybe that's what got them there. I don't know. But when you look at D1 athletes, there's some really, the guys that came up, there's some super studs that, when you look at it, and I jokingly said this, I remember saying this to the guys back in like 1999. It's like, you know what? We will continue to grow better athletes here. We will win World's Strongest Man someday.
Yep.
And that was 99. So it really was only 7 years later. I said, we will end up dominating it when we get the right athletes, our athletes, into the sport. The reason the best athletes, because they can go play football, they can go play basketball. Sure. They can play real sports and make real money. So when this sport grows enough to make an athlete money, make a living, then you're going to start to see some super freaks come out.
Yeah.
And like you're starting to see that now because there's athletes that are like, holy shit. Because when at 6 foot tall and 260 pounds, I could hold my own. I did my best. I did everything I could.
Yep.
But I knew I was never I'm not going to beat then at that time, that 6'3", 6'4" athlete. Now it's like 6'6", 6'8", and they're fucking athletes.
Yeah.
So a 6'8" athlete kicks the shit out of a 6 foot athlete every day of the week because you're an athlete.
Well, and that's, I mean, you're exactly right with that. And that's an interesting perspective for sure. I mean, for me, I played basketball in college and, then got done and it was weird. I actually ran the test for the NFL. Right?
Yeah.
There was an agent that, kind of saw me and was like, holy cow, man, you're a freak. Like, this is crazy. So you got, the size, and I was probably at that point 320 maybe, but I could do, in the testing at least, all the athletic stuff was ridiculous for what they wanted. But the problem was, and he actually called some teams and this type of thing, but it was like
the learning curve.
This is the problem. I was a basketball player that, in all fairness, I probably was more of a football player playing basketball That's just what it was. I always had to work
I wouldn't want
so
to see
hard.
you post up against your ass.
No, I hurt a lot of guys.
I'm sure you did.
I mean, I literally in playing basketball, there's one guy, I broke his back we were going for a loose ball, and he happened to just get there, but I'm fully committed. I never back down. And I hurt him pretty bad. I mean, I feel bad about that. Yeah. But, there's a lot of guys like that I hurt with that. But like I said, my physical mentality with playing basketball, I mean, if I could box somebody out and they were going to come and I could hit them as hard as I could, I love that. Setting screens, love setting screens. I love that, those nitty gritty. If the ball was on the floor, I was on the floor. That I love that aspect of the game. Kind of like the hard work, getting rebounds, like, that type of stuff. But getting out, that door never opened, right? It's like, hey, you're a freak athlete. The scores, all the numbers are there. You just need a coach that'll work with you.
Your biggest problem there would have been just learning curve of learning the skill set of being a lineman in the NFL. And you could be as physical as you can. Now, again, I do think this wholeheartedly. Over time, I'm sure you could have learned those skills, but what team was going to drop money to do that?
This is the thing. The door, you look back on life, and I think sometimes doors open and close or don't open for reasons. And I very much feel that way now. I'm actually thankful that door didn't open, right? Like, I think my path and my journey and the way that I've been able to hopefully positively affect people in their lives and spread a great message. I'm not sure I could have done that if I would have played football.
I see where you've come from and how far you've come and what you've done, and just such an inspiration. And when people actually hear it, because everyone, Brian, he's always, no, you worked your ass off for it. You've gone the extra way. You've made the phone calls. You've gone and trained with people. You've gone to learn more. And I think that's what makes it so cool when you see it. There are very few students of the game. Like, I think like Osland and Thigpen.
For sure.
When those guys wanted to know. So they just, got on the phone. Yep. Jesse Morundi. I remember Jesse called me like 2010, like just calling, doesn't even know me. Calls me, says, hey man, this is Jesse Morundi. I'm like, aren't you that kid from Iron Mind who closed the grippers? Yeah, I'm doing this show in Boston. I'm like, fucking hey. Like, so we just started talking. And I gave him a few tips, and then he comes and kicks everyone's ass.
Yeah.
He was just a great athlete.
Yep.
So you've got that athletic, you can learn the skill of the sport. Now, at that level, the NFL, that's a whole different level. So you
and
take
I'm
that.
Not, with me saying this, I think it's just more, I'm not sitting here and saying like, hey, if I would have got that open door to the NFL, I would have been an all-pro. Or like, I'm who knows, right? But I'm saying that the door didn't open.
Right.
And I think it didn't open for a reason, because I was meant to be doing what I'm doing now.
And I think you're making a huge impact in people, and not just Strongman's life, because there's a lot more people that see you and hear you that they're not in Strongman. But I think you have that message, I'm just looking at your shirt, relentless drive, greatness. I mean, you're like, okay, these are the things that I think America was built on.
Yep.
And I think just continuously reminding people of that, they need to hear it. And then they see, look where you came. Like you said, man, I was getting scrap iron to make shit.
For sure.
Now, like we're talking like, hey, I'm getting a Mars bar, I'm getting this bar, I'm gonna do this. Look where you came from. And I think that's where people have to understand that. Can everyone do it? Well, they might not be able to do it to the level that you've done it, but they can really go a hell of a lot farther than they think they can.
You can always find a different gear, right? Mentally and physically. And I think a lot of people give up before they even get started, right? Because they look at the entire journey and maybe how far they have to go. And this is not necessarily related to training, but it's also in life. It's like, hey, I've got this goal, I've got this dream, and it seems so far away. It seems so far away in the path to get there. Instead of just saying, you know what, I'm going to wake up today and I'm going to get better today and I'm going to take a step forward today and win today, right? And then what am I going to do? I'm going to go to bed, I'm going to get my sleep, and then I'm going to get up and I'm going to win tomorrow. And then you keep going down that journey, because time's going to go on no matter what.
Right.
It always is, right? So you're never going to be able to get time back. So it's how do you use your time? And instead of thinking so long term, just set a very short term goal, even on a daily basis, and say, hey, today if your goal is, let's just say, to be the best strongman you can, what are you doing about your food? What are you doing about your water? What are you doing about your training or recovery? And handle those things on a daily basis and be consistent over a long time. You will get better. Now, is that saying you can get to the level of winning World's Strongest Man? Maybe, maybe not. But you know what? You can overcome goals,
right,
and push yourself to be the best version of yourself that you possibly can be. And if you do that in training, like you're mentioning these women that are some of them 70, 80 years old, and I can only imagine. I wish I could be a fly on the wall to watch some of that stuff happen, because the inspiration that would come from them for me personally would be incredible. And I guarantee they're finishing that and they probably have a smile on their face, and it makes their entire day, it makes their entire week, and that carry over to life from training. And that's why I've always said I think everybody should train.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, if we can mandate anything, mandate people working out and eating right.
100%. Because the carryover, it teaches you so much about yourself. It teaches you so much about life and how to handle yourself and overcome adversity, challenges, go after goals.
Those little losses, I mean, I think that's what we've kind of lost, is the little losses on a day-to-day basis that you lose, and you learn how to lose. If you can learn how to lose the little things, when you have the big things come in your life. I went through a pretty rough patch, and I had some really good friends that stood by me. And I think, and Van being one of them. I mean, Van, we went to Indianapolis in 2015. He won. He went to Masters Worlds. We come in 2016. I got my shit back together. I'm training hard. Like I want to come win. And my mom died.
Yeah,
and my mom's like, number one, my mom said, you don't ever fucking quit anything.
Yeah.
And so I went to the show, and it was the hardest thing I've probably ever done in my life, is just to go and compete, but her expectation that you start something, you finish it, no matter what. And I got there, and it's like, I did not feel like competing, but Van was there for me. Johnny was there for me. The whole crowd prayed for me.
That's awesome.
It was just like, that's what Strongman is to me.
Yep.
Is a giant extended family. And what I want to see is that people start to understand that, like, how that first step by step, where do you end up? Yeah. It's like your journey of fitness, when we train a lot of kids, it's like, where are you going to be in 10 years? No one wants to think about 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, where am I going to be at 10? Hey, I'm going to be 63. I'm going to be at 63. I'm going to be coaching people. I'm going to be doing strongman, and I'm going to be kicking ass at 63. I want to be the best 63-year-old I can be. I will never be the athlete I was. Mm-hmm. And I know that. Now I've got to fight tooth and nail to not lose it any faster. Father Time's going to win, but I'm going to kick him in the nuts a few times on the way.
That's the thing. And that's the mentality, right? It's not giving up ever.
Yeah.
And trying to be the best version of yourself that you possibly can be. And those type of things. But that no quit, right? You don't quit. And I've talked about that now a few times just here, in my life, so many different times, seminars and those type of things where you're talking to people. But that message, even when you're going through something incredibly difficult,
right?
The easiest thing is to quit. Always is. Right. You always have that option. It's there, and it's almost like teasing you. Hey, you can quit. You can hang it up. It's easy. That's the easiest thing that anybody could ever do.
Or you can just nut up and gut it out and get it done. Yep. And I think that's the thing that our society doesn't do anymore.
Yep.
And I think a lot of competitors don't do it. It gets tough. So, like, I don't know. You get nicked up going into a show. It doesn't mean you're not doing the show. It just means you're banged up going in. I don't know. I mean, I jokingly said, like, who's going to win the show? I'm like, okay, well, number one, who doesn't get hurt?
Yep.
Number two, who doesn't, screw up?
Yep.
And then who didn't come in overcooked? And that's what I see a lot of guys coming. Hey, like you said, you're 95 days out from World's Strongest Man.
Yep.
I'm out here, but I've been blasting PRs for the last month.
Nope.
Well, fuck, you're going to end up getting the World's Strongest Man. You've left all your best lifts in the gym.
Yeah. Well, and you have to learn that early on.
Yeah.
Right. To have the longevity, because I know that for me, with the game plan that I've got laid out, I'm going to be the best that I possibly can be at the contest.
Right.
Right. Training is only the process of getting there.
Right.
And I can't, and I've joked about this before with different people, but now with the video content, right? I can't show up to the contest with the video on my phone. Let's just say it's a log press or something, right? I can't walk in there and say, hey, we've got a max log. in training, I did this max log. So here, I'm going to show that video to the referee and I'm going to get credit for it. I don't have to lift at the contest. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Right. You don't get any credit for the training lift. If you can do something great in training, sure, that's awesome. Only if you can replicate it or beat it at the contest.
When it matters.
When it matters. When it's all in the line and all the pressure's there. And, a lot of guys are comfortable with training and they can do great things in training. But when you put that pressure on them in the moment, they've either left their best lifts in training, right, or they can't step up to the plate and perform when it matters. And that's the difference really from a mental standpoint, having that mental ability to have that carryover and think about why you're training and what you're training for and what the goal is. What is your goal and when are you going to be your best?
Well, I think the one thing like you have done or I've done, like hire a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, like you got Shaw Strength. So here's programming. Hire a coach. I mean, you've hired a coach. I've hired coaches. Why do I hire a coach? Because that coach I'm not going to look at my personal biases to my training. Yep. I'm going to let that coach tell me what I need. They're going to see what my deficiencies are and they're going to fix them. Yep. Or like with nutrition, because, I studied exercise science and nutrition. Yep. I've helped people with nutrition for 30 freaking years. I hired Nathan Payton for one reason. He's fucking better at than I am, and he's going to get me to where I want to be. Yeah. You know what? And that's why you hire a coach, because they're going to take you where you can't take yourself. Last year, and I'll probably do it again. Last year, Clint Darden did a lot of my programming.
Okay.
And I hired Clint because he's not going to do my biases. I mean, I'm going to do what I like to do.
Yeah.
Now I'm a little different because I usually do the shit that I don't like. That's what I'll go do anyways. Yeah. I don't want like last night. I didn't want to do that half mile on that assault bike.
No,
but you're elevation. I want to see if I can do. Number one, I want to see if I can do it.
Yeah,
I want to see if I can beat my time. And then I was just okay. Just don't be a pussy for 60 seconds.
Sure. Well, you have to be willing to attack the things that you're not as good at,
right?
And your weaknesses. And I think that's a very important. So I was going to say, you have the discipline to know that I have to get better at this, or again. And I'm the same way. I thought I knew a good amount about nutrition. And I kind of got to a point where, bringing Nathan into the mix was like, hey, let's just kick it up a notch, right? I'm going to put my confidence in you and you're going to help me. And this is, Nathan had only worked with one or two guys, I think at that point, with me. And I was like, hey, okay, come in. I'd already won the Arnold. I was at that level where I was coming in to win World's Strongest Man. I was a few weeks out and I was like, all right, man, let's go on. So it may not, be an immediate thing, but I want it to be a long-term thing. And that's what it has been with him, with me. And now we know each other and talk about it. But a lot of guys have got benefit, from him as well, which is awesome. Right. And I feel like he's only gaining more knowledge too, right?
Yeah,
so as he works with more and more athletes, it's like, that's really, you can't measure how much knowledge you're getting from the athletes and the feedback and the response.
And he's well researched. I mean, it's like, with my conversation, it's like, hey, read this book. Hey, read that book. I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that because I am a student. I want to learn. I want to know why, and I like, even with training, I want to know why. Why do I need to do this? For me, and again, how I've always laid my training out, I was more of a high intensity. When I first started, I was more high intensity. Dr. Ken Leisner, Ellington Darden, Arthur Jones, that kind of mentality. 1 or 2 sets to failure. That was it. And then I learned a lot from Louis Simmons.
Yep.
And I don't care who you are. I'm going to pick your brain and find what works. So I've kind of developed my own thing that works for me or my athletes. And then every athlete's different. So I've got to adjust it for the athlete at hand.
Of course.
For the amount of time they're willing to give. Hey, dude, I'll train 25 hours a week. Well, most people don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
Like you have a life, you have a job, and when you have that, then you have to make it fit, and then you have to make it fit in a way that's going to make you long-term successful and stay healthy. I look at the ability, like I've never had knock on wood, I've never had a surgery from Strongman. I've torn a lot of shit. I've got a lot of divots in my body, but nothing's ever torn off. Both shoulders are jacked up. I've torn my pec minor's gone. Nothing that's required a surgery. So why? And then I just trained around it, found a way, talked to people. You know what? I look at the coaches that I can call on are all PhDs.
Yeah.
These high level, very intelligent people. John Russin is a friend, and I've ask him questions over the years that he comes back and answers them. Clint or, Mike Westling, I think you used him a little bit last year, or just bouncing stuff off other guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like yesterday, we were talking while we were training. It's like, I watched and I picked up a few things. Like I always laugh because as a master coach for Parisi, I go out and do these certifications for coaches, and invariably a young coach teaches me something every time.
Yeah.
Or like yesterday, just training. Like that's why I can't wait tomorrow. I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn something.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's an important quality, man. I said I've gone to so many different contests in my career, and I always walk away learning something.
Yeah.
And especially early on, if you can walk in and have an open mind and watch detail, right? Like the detail of this, the detail of that, and that's one of the things that I wanted to go in and be a sponge and just learn as much as I could, even though I was competing, and then I would take that whatever I could learn, go back and get better. And then come back and learn more. And you get in these situations, but you improve and you're willing to improve.
Right. I just remember always, like when I first started and I got the opportunity to do it was a Renaissance Festival in Michigan, and Magnus, it was like Magnus, Heinz Olish, there was several other guys, I can't remember their names now. But we went, and I would always just, and the thing is, like the contest there, I brought the equipment, so it was my equipment, it was my field stones.
Yeah.
And like, I'm bringing home field advantage with me because they needed equipment. I was the closest guy who had it, so I brought it up, And when I got there, it's like, I watched Magnus touch the stones.
Yeah.
And he literally just moved them around and found the most advantageous spot and just watch it. So every contest I would watch Magnus. What is Magnus doing?
Yeah. And
then I've had the opportunity to train with Magnus. I mean, we were on numerous shows together, and then we would train. And like, I remember, hey man, will you look at my deadlift and what am I doing wrong? Fixed one thing, and I put 50 pounds on my deadlift in one workout.
That's crazy.
It's not like I got stronger. He fixed my technique. So I looked at it like anyone. I mean, I just had Ed in. Ed was at our gym last year, and just, it was funny. Like the whole thing came down to is like sternum up. Like, where I was giving these coaching cues, chin up, sternum up. I was like, it hit me like a brick to the back of the head, sternum up. Like, oh my God, that's fucking the whole seminar. My whole seminar was learning sternum up. I say chest up.
Yeah.
But when chest up or sternum up, there's just a little bit of a difference. And like, so pick everything up that you can.
Yeah.
And like and listen to every coach. Like people are, what do you read? I'm like, I read everything. I watch videos. Why do I watch videos? Well, you know it. Well, yeah, but maybe I pick something else up.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to be a lifelong student of the game, and I just want to get better. I want to be the best coach I can be to every athlete that I'm in charge of to make them successful, to help make them successful. Ultimately, they're doing it. I mean, people are like, you were my coach and I didn't do anything. I just showed you the way. I pointed the direction. You did all the sweating. You put the blood, sweat, and tears in it. I didn't.
Yeah, but that knowledge, and like you said, student of a game is a very important thing. And I've always been of the mindset, if I'm done learning and I'm not willing to learn anymore, I'm as good as I'm ever going to be.
Yep.
And I'm done. Right. Like if I close my mind off to learning or being coachable or asking advice or any of that type of stuff. And I think that's a very important quality. And I feel like there's athletes out there that are coachable, that are that way, and then you've got the opposite, and they typically will not improve very quickly because they walk in, they're arrogant, they're cocky, they're closed-minded. They say they know everything.
I know it all.
Know it all, right? And how can you possibly know it all if you're sitting here after how many years you've done this, and I'm sitting here after how many years I've done this, and we're saying, hey, we can learn, we can get better, and you're listening to advice here, listening to advice there. I mean, I talk to Nick about different things. I talk to Ed. I am working with Joe Ken now, and he's bringing a different perspective, and all these different things that makes me better, and I love it. I love absorbing that and saying like, hey, I've got accomplishments. Well, in my mind, I don't care about those accomplishments. I care about getting better now. Right. And if you go in with the attitude of, well, look at how accomplished I am, look at my career, whatever, at that point, I'm no longer getting better.
I think that's the one thing that I love about you the most is that your humility of, I mean, God, dude, you've done fucking everything in this sport and it's incredible. But like right now, it's like, I want to learn more to get better. I want to learn more to help other people. And I think that's the beauty, like, we've talked about legacy before. What's your legacy? I always talk to my athletes about what's your legacy going to be. So like it's the high school kids. What's your legacy going to be? Are you going to put a flag up on that wall that says you won a state championship or you won that first conference championships? And I think about all those times of kids of doing that, those legacies. But like when I look at your legacy, it's like, you've done so much, but you still want to do more. And you still want to learn more, and then you want to give back. I mean, we were talking about this before, but it's like, I think the most impressive thing, and I've been around a lot of athletes for a long time. We're at the Shaw Classic last year. The show's over. For 3 hours, you're sitting there, you're shaking hands, you're signing autographs, you're there for your fans, and not a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's an incredible thing that's just uniquely Brian Shaw.
Yeah.
And I was like, people want to say, what makes Brian Shaw great? I could give a shit about all your trophies.
Yeah.
What makes you great is that you're a great human being. And that means infinitely more to me than anything. And that's what I've always wanted to be. I want to be that person that helps no matter what, that you just help and you make a difference. And if my goal has always been to make a difference in people's lives, so, and I think that's what we share. And I think that's what makes me I just smile. Like when people say Brian Shaw, I'm like, great guy. Yeah. What else? Like, is he a great strongman? Well, no fucking shit, he's a great strongman. But he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Like, great guy, great dad. I mean, just watching with the boys playing, it's like it just makes me smile.
Yeah.
That
and I appreciate that, man. I really, really do. And it means a lot coming from you. But it's one of those things that I think it goes back to how I was raised.
Yeah.
Right. And
Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, you did a hell of a job.
Like I said, my dad was tough on me. My parents were tough on me, right? But it was something that I needed, and they had to control my competitiveness, but let me be competitive, right? So it was kind of, I learned all of that, but it was always, you're going to be respectful, you're going to be humble, and you're not going to quit, right? And that carryover also is how you treat people.
Right.
So how are you going to treat people? So like you're saying, for me, that's a no-brainer for me. And I've done, I've done that again and again and again. And I love doing it because all of those people that are willing to wait to talk to me, to say hi, to take a picture, have me sign something, whatever, that moment for them means a lot, but it also means a lot to me. Like I walk away from those things and I may be exhausted, right? Like for example, I did one last year, World's Strongest Man. They weren't going to allow fans to watch us until the last minute. That was the rule, right? And so I said, I'm not having it. I'm setting up an appearance. I'll do it on my own, right? It's just, I'll find a gym, I'll set it up, I'll do it after the contest. And if people can't come watch, they can come to that. And I will literally stand there. And I had kind of, I'm beat up from the contest, right?
Yeah.
Like you just did World's Strongest Man. And the next day I'm at this appearance and it was, I'm on my feet for, I think it ended up being about 7 hours straight. I think I finished at 11:30 at night or 12 or something, right? But it was every single person stood in that line and waited. And some of those people had driven 8-10 hours just to come for that, which was incredible to me. It's humbling to me, but it's taking those moments with those people. And some of the stories that those people share are incredible, right? It's really, really incredible. They may have, taken something that I said it and applied it to their life, and they've lost 100 pounds or they lost 50 pounds or they have more confidence or they got through a tough situation. Like these type of things, that's an impact on somebody's life. Right. And it's much bigger, like you said, than a trophy or an accomplishment or record or whatever, right? It's having an impact on people's life. And that's, a big part of why I try to share all the things that I do is it's making an impact for people out there. And that's what really means a lot to me is if you can inspire somebody to go after their goal, to be better, to improve themselves. And this is the same thing too for you. I mean, think you get to work with all these kids. Right. And man, I mean, they're taking life lessons, whether it's athletically or not, you're still having an impact mentally. They gain confidence to go after something they want to go after and improve themselves. And that for somebody to do that, to have that impact on other people is, I think in life is one of the most rewarding things ever.
I've never been an illicit drug user, but I always say like I'm getting ready to get my fix today.
Yeah.
Because I get to train people every day, and I get to make a difference in my coaches' lives. And then as far as Parisi, as an educator, I get to go out and educate other coaches and how we do things and how Parisi does things. And how does that make them more successful? How do we change more lives? So if we really want to make a difference in this country, it's one kid at a time.
Yep.
It's just one kid at a time. And I look at the kids that I get to train. It's like, I mean, like I don't go to work every day. I've worn a suit, I've worn a tie, I've done that part of my life, but like I get to wear sweatpants every day.
Yeah.
I get to wear pajamas every day.
Comfortable clothes.
Clothes. And but I get to make a difference, and I get to help educate people and make a difference, and then see how that transpires over to their life and the rest of their people in their life. Because I've had kids that they started training, they got their parents to eat better. Or vice versa. The parents start and then they bring this to their kids. Mm-hmm. So we train kids and adults at the same time, but like it just becomes one that just making a difference in someone's life. Like we said, they might not remember what you said, but they're always going to remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
My goal is to make you feel good today.
Yeah.
If you come to my gym, I want you to know that like this is the best damn hour of your day, and we're going to do whatever we can to get it. And my staff has done that, and they do a great job. And I've been really blessed to have some incredible coaches that I've been able to mentor over the last 25 years. What's crazy is that there's like 14 of them have opened their own facilities.
That's awesome.
So you're doing something right because they want to keep doing it. So my goal is just to keep doing that. And as far as from Strongman, just keep pushing this guy forward. I can't wait to this summer. This summer show's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. It is, man. And that's the thing. As you said, it's one kid at a time. It's one person at a time. And I think when you approach life in that way and say, I'm going to look in the mirror first, and what can I do? What can I do to be better? What can I do to make an impact? And individually, if everybody approaches it that way and you handle yourself first, improve yourself, and then you make that impact, that's a wildfire, right?
What a great world we would live in if everyone just, loved everyone else.
Yes, handled that.
What's the old saying? What did Jesus say? Love God with all your love God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Absolutely, treat people how you want to be treated. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's I think the message that a lot of people, hopefully they can take that message to heart. And if you were to treat people, and again, it's too easy now with the way that social media is and whatever for somebody to say something negative, and too many people take the negativity away from something that can be really good. And if you're one of those type of people, it's better to look in the mirror and say, hey, you know what, am I going to take time out of my day to say something negative to somebody that doesn't really need to be said, right? Or just not do that.
The world's bad enough. It's going to make you feel bad.
Yes.
Maybe we should just say things that make people feel good.
Exactly. And that's cool that you can do that. I try to do that same thing, and it's just that passion, I think, coming out in our lives and what we do. And it's really cool, man. I have been inspired by you in a lot of different ways, and the way that you have approached this and made the sport grow and what you've given back. And, we've been able to touch on that a little bit, but, we're going to do some cool stuff, with things coming up, and, you're getting back in, you're promoting a contest this summer, and then we've got the next Shaw Classic, which you'll be helping with. And, it's just those type of things. I think the doors are going to open, and it's going to be really, really great.
Well, that was my cue for my shameless self-promotion.
There you go. There it is.
This summer, July 23rd in Columbia, Missouri, we're going to be holding an event, and the event will be Brian coming out.
I'll be there.
He's coming out, and he's going to do a seminar and talk. And then the next day, we're going to do the Masters Clash in the morning, which is a Masters Pro show, honoring us old guys.
Which will be cool. That'll be really cool.
There's some big. Nick Best is coming. Travis Ortmeyer just said he was in.
That's going to be
really awesome. So I'll be releasing the rest of the names. And if you want to gain an invite, how to get that invite, and here soon. And then then we're going to run the 21st Central USA. We've kind of resurrected it.
That's cool.
You were at the last one. You were at the 20th one in 2014. We're doing the 21st. 21st showing of the show. So we're resurrecting the granddaddy of all strongman contests. So
that's awesome, man.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I think we're going to have a great time. And hopefully we'll have some people out there and learn some stuff, have a good time, and just watch some cool strongman stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be great, man. And then gosh, I haven't talked about that, but like the Shaw Classic piggyback, and which will be in August. So you're in July, and then we'll be in August, and that one's moving to the Budweiser Event Center here in Colorado. So big step up for us, and then we're opening that up to not only the pros, but we're going to now do a women's class and a men's open class as well. Which will be great. We're going to give away some prize money to them. And
that's going to be awesome opportunity for young up and comers. You want to find out where you're at, you come to this show, you're going to know.
Yeah. So we're going to do an online qualifier, and then we'll say more stuff about that. But the opportunities, right? It's like you're given opportunities. I really want to give opportunities and grow that where, you're able to kind of have that way to take the next step, right, and give the opportunity to these open classes. I'm really excited to see what happens with that.
Well, what I love is that you're giving back.
Yeah,
you're really giving back, giving these guys an opportunity. Who's that next up and coming guy, or gal?
Well, I would have loved. I think back to me, and it's if I could have had something like that to go to when I was getting started, it would have been. I'd have been chomping at the bit to get after it. And,
I think they're going to be more. I think it's going to be insane how many people are going to try to enter this.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be so cool to watch. And to me, it's going to be so cool to actually be there and be part of it and judge.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun for me. Because I don't just judge, I tend to coach while I'm judging.
Yeah, you do. So you get a little animated.
Get into it. I get excited. So,
well, that's awesome, man. Well, I think great message. Yeah. Great message. And, hopefully people, are able to take something away from this and whatever it is, right, and apply it to themselves, and whether it's the consistency or being positive, right, and having that impact on other people. I think there's so many good takeaways from the conversation today, and it's neat, man. I feel like we could talk all day about different stories with Strongman and how it's grown and evolved and changed, and looking back in my career, and then even further back with your career. It's neat to see that progression, but like we said earlier, it's important to remember everybody who kind of paved that path to where we are now. And, hopefully we can keep paving the path and keep moving forward. But you got any closing thoughts?
You know what? I think you're blazing the trail of a bigger, better show. I mean, we've never talked about your vision, but when I look at the Shaw Classic, I look at the Shaw Expo. I see that vision. I see that big vision that that's just a need, and it's crazy how many people came out last year. I mean, 1,000 people drove out to come watch the show, and it's like, it was just an incredible experience, and I've got to experience about everything in Strongman, and it was the most phenomenal show I've ever seen. So if you haven't committed and bought the ticket, buy the damn ticket, because you're going to have a blast. It's incredible. And now this new venue, oh my God, it's going to be awesome.
We're putting a lot into it, man. And again, trying to raise the bar and give back. And that's what it's all about. I said it's a contest by the athletes for the athletes, and they're going to stay at the forefront of that. And that's the vision, right? It's making it good for them, giving opportunities now to other athletes as well, and just kind of try to take a step, with each year in the right direction, and there's a lot to be done, but we're going to take it a step at a time. Just like we were saying, you get better and better and better. You can do the same thing there.
I think you've forced everyone else in there to step up their game as well, which is awesome.
Well, it's about the athletes.
It is.
Right. And that's truly at the heart of it. That's what it's about. That's how it started at the beginning. And that was, I was sitting in this very office, and I had that idea, and went in and woke up Carrie at whatever it was, 11 o'clock at night, and said, we have to do this. And, she's just like, what are you talking about? Right. And it's like, hey, we're going to clear the gyms out. We're going to start this contest, and we're going to do it, and I knew at that moment in time when everything was going on, it was like, we're going to make it happen. Right. We'll figure it out. I don't have all the answers right now, but we'll just do it.
COVID be damned, you did it.
Yes.
It was awesome.
Yeah. And it's growing, and we're going to keep it growing. But, anyway, buddy, I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me on here.
And it's been a lot of fun. And, if you guys got something out of this, if you took something away, please share the show. It means a lot. And this is something I'm trying to get going and grow. And, right now we're kind of still in the infancy part of this, but the more that you guys take away, the more that you share, the more it's going to grow, and the better that this is going to be and grow. So definitely make sure to check Chad out. Where can they find you on?
Oh, I'm not real.
I know he's not big on Instagram, but
I've got Instagram and I've got Facebook, and it's just under my name, so just I'm not really Chad nothing Coy. Flashy.
Chad Coy, yeah,
it's just pretty simple, guy.
That's good, man. Well, you post every once in a while. You put up some training stuff.
I try to. I probably need to do more, but I've been kind of between the business and coaching, there's only so many hours.
I mean, it's not like you're busy or anything,
Yeah, no, exactly.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you all are doing amazing. For now, go out and be great, and we will check you guys later.